Continuing with our program, students active in the leadership of tomorrow. Welcome, Adam Gonzalez. He'll speak to us about District Clerk.
All right, so today I was doing research, and then up until about 2 hours ago I was fine, but then my nose decided to make like Usain Bolt and start running. So if I sniff during this speech, forgive me. So according to all authorities, the district clerk performs the duties assigned by the Texas Constitution as a registrar, recorder, and custodian of all court pleadings, instruments, and papers that are not part of any legal case or of action in the 9th District. Wonky microphone. All court pleadings, instruments, and papers that are part of any legal cause of action in the 9 district courts of Collin County. Additionally, the district clerk's office serves as a passport acceptance and agent and provides jury service for all statutory district, county, and justice of the peace courts in Collin County. So what does that mean in English? Now, what the district clerk does is they record all of the acts and proceedings that occur in the district courts in Collin County. Now, we have 9 separate district courts in Collin County. Now, they make sure that everything that each court does is made account of and recorded so that people can review the district court's actions. It also enters all judgments of the court under the direction of the judge. They administer child support payments, administers trust accounts for minors, and they keep an index of the parties to all suits filed in the court. They make sure that everyone's name is down of who's involved in what. And then they keep an account of all funds collected by the office, including fines and fees, and to determine the amount due to citizens who serve on jury duty in the district court. So that still is barely English. Essentially what it means is that you have to have someone that knows the law, you have to have someone that is organized, and someone that can communicate between the judges and the papers to make sure that everything is put down and everything is organized properly. So what happens when someone doesn't do this job right? Well, essentially, we all know that bureaucracy is annoying. It's a pain to trudge through. Now, how much more annoying is it when that bureaucracy that is already a pain to trudge through is completely disorganized? You have cats and dogs living together, essentially. You don't have a consistent system that can be kept up well and done efficiently if you don't have the right district clerk. So what we need to make sure when we're looking at the candidate form that we're going to have in a little bit, we're going to make sure that we have someone that has a thorough knowledge of the law, that knows what they're doing, that knows how to do it properly and how to do it well. We need to have someone who is organized, like major OCD level organized, because they have a lot of stuff to organize among the 9 different district courts that we have here in Collin County. And finally, we need to have someone that has good communication skills. They can make sure that they get the information that they need from the judges and that they can communicate that on their records and that they can communicate to the judges and to all parties that come to the court what they need to do, what they should be doing, their schedules, their information. So we need to make sure that they have their thorough knowledge, their organization, and their communication so that we can have a county government and a county judicial branch that runs effectively. And especially because in Collin County we have 9 different district judges, the district clerk has their work cut out for them. So we need to make sure that we have someone that can efficiently do this large volume of work. And so with that, we can move on to the next thing.
Well, welcome, Denise.
Thank you.
We're thrilled to have you, and we always love having candidates visit us. Most important thing when we're looking at the Republican primaries, we want our candidates to succeed. And we're a very supportive group here at the Tea Party. We are always teaching. Tonight we're going to learn a little bit more about you. And I think this first question is really just, you have family here with you this evening, or?
I do. I have 2 out of my 3 children outside helping me with signs and brochures. I actually have 3 girls.
Okay. And your profession?
I am a paralegal for 22 years.
Now, how's that giving you knowledge of the law?
As a paralegal, oh, I'm sorry, that's really loud. As a paralegal,
Would you two guys switch microphones?
Sure.
See if your heads are just... Don't take any time.
This is a really good test, Denise.
okay, we'll get this.
My
Y'all
voice
hear me?
doesn't seem as booming yet.
Is that better? Okay, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that question?
So how's the, all these years of paralegal experience, how is it giving you knowledge of the law?
As a paralegal, I fall under the same ethical guidelines as an attorney. I do not practice law. It is illegal for me to practice law, give legal advice. But as a paralegal, I fall under the same guidelines as a lawyer. My attorneys that I work for or have worked for in the past could potentially lose their law license if I violate any of the laws.
Now, you're running as a Republican, and you've been a registered Republican for how long?
I began in politics when I became a Texan approximately 20 years ago. It was a little delayed. Actually, my attorney that I was working for at the time, Michael Poole, was running for the school board, and helping him run his campaign, I became involved, and that's how I kind of got into politics and the Republican Party.
And after all these years being a Republican, what does being a Republican mean to you?
The guideline, I mean, everything that the Republican Party stands for are my beliefs. I believe marriage is a man and a woman. Sorry, I said wife. I am pro-life. My true beliefs are the minute a baby is conceived, it is life. It deserves to have a life. I understand some young adults, I mean, I have young children, and I know some young adults happen to fall into circumstances that makes them feel like they need to end that life, but there are so many other choices out there for young girls. So I have the same beliefs as the Republican Party does.
Now, what kind of interaction currently do you have with the district clerk office?
Actually, prior to January 1st, and the reason I say that is because as of January 1st, the Supreme Court of Texas mandated 10 counties to go online and e-file their documents. Prior to that, working for a lawyer, it was my responsibility to file the documents with the courts on a daily basis. I have been in front of our 9 judges with my lawyer, doing hearings, attending trials, jury trials. So on a daily basis, I do business at the Collin County District Courthouse, filing documents and working with the courts.
Do you come in contact with the current district clerk, Thompson?
No, I have
No.
never.
Okay. Since you are running against the incumbent, it is presumed that you aspire to make changes over what has been done in the last 2 years. Now, using powers that are delegated to the district clerk, what changes would you be making? The first question is, what changes will you be making?
The first changes that I would be making is how the e-filing system right now in Collin County works. I'll tell you, coming from a lawyer's office, the way it works, it's very difficult for an attorney's office. The turnaround to get our documents back is unfortunately slow compared to some of the other counties. To an attorney's office, time is money. It costs our clients money, so we like our documents turned around fast. So I would like to try to change the way the e-filing, the Supreme Court of Texas has guidelines and you have to follow those guidelines. But I would like to try to make it more efficient and user-friendly for lawyers. And I believe a lot of that also has to do with training the staff. So those are my 2 top priorities.
What do you make of the current district clerk's performance?
You know, that's kind of, I do not know Ms. Thompson personally. So I would say working with the district clerks, I just think that it could run more efficiently.
And This is more of a long-range question. Firstly, do you feel that this is a solely administrative position or political position? How do you look at it?
I look at it as more as an administrative position.
Okay. Do you have experience hiring staff?
I do. Besides working as a paralegal, two of the law firms I have worked for, I feel bad because I feel like I have my back to y'all, sorry. As a paralegal, I've also managed 2 law offices. That does include hiring staff, releasing staff, bookkeeping, accounts payable, receivable, dealing with the financial institutions, working with IRS, you name it, I have done it. It also includes budgeting a law firm. I have budgeted a law firm that is worth $1.5 million. I'm in charge of maintaining that budget and making sure that our clients continue up with their payments, so that includes collections. So I'm real good at running a law office and managing firms, so I think a lot of that brings my experience into what I can use at the district clerk's office.
So what do you think the district clerk's office will look like in a couple of years after your tenure?
That's a really good question. I think a lot of that depends on our county growth. Currently, we have 9 district judges sitting on our benches. Collin County is growing at a rapid rate. If it continues to grow, I foresee that there's going to have to be some additional courts added on to our courthouse. There's room there, so I'm thinking that when they built this courthouse, they anticipated the growth. If you have more judges, you need more staff. So if I were to win the election, I would like to maintain the staff as it is right now, just maybe utilize them in different positions. But in the event that there are more courts that are open, I would need to make sure that the courts can run efficiently and that we have the staff to handle that.
All right, thank you very much. And you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Okay, thank you. I would like to just tell you all that I have the experience and the knowledge to be a great asset to the Collin County District Clerk's office. I personally have just, not recently, but in the past few years, have gone into politics. But as far as my experience, my core values that I've been raised with, which is leadership, morale, set example for others, I truly believe with all that I can be an asset to the Collin County District Clerk's office, and I can make it a more efficient running public office. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So welcome, and where do you live?
McKinney.
Right here in McKinney.
Sir.
All right.
She needs a microphone.
Oh, yes.
McKinney. Sorry. Born and raised right here in McKinney.
How long have you been a Republican?
I've voted Republican a lot in my life, but being African American, it took a little while. Being raised in a family, actually my dad was a Republican, but being raised in a family in a church, a lot of people don't understand this. You get influenced by what the church tells you to do, and so often, because of my age, I'm 55 years old. So often they'll say, you need to vote this way, so we would follow suit with what they said. A lot of times they'd say vote Democrat, a lot of times they'd say vote Republican. But I got here as quick as I could. So I would say on a consistent basis, I've been voting Republican since about 2004, maybe 2005, 6, and primary. Well, actually, let me back that up. 2001, that's when I started working for the district clerk's office, and I realized that I was a conservative. For sure, I knew it, but then I started voting in primaries and that sort of thing.
Was there a specific moment that you thought you were conservative?
I've been conservative all my life, and if any black woman, and I know y'all say y'all don't talk about race, but if any black woman was honest with themselves, they would tell you that they're conservative. Just basic conservatism. We don't abort our babies. We're church going, God-fearing women.
So what does it mean to you to be a Republican?
It means being conservative, limited government, and I know that's a surprise sometimes to hear a black woman say that too, because a lot of people have the thought process that a lot of black women are on welfare and they live that way, and that's not true of the majority. So limited government, conservatism, God-fearing Christian woman.
What knowledge of the law do you have that would prepare you for this position?
I started working in the district clerk's office in 2001. I've always been fascinated by the law. I had an uncle who was an attorney and ended up being a district judge in Harris County. In 2005, I became a court administrator under one of the smartest judges that Collin County ever knew, Judge Kurt B. Henderson, and he taught me an awful lot. But you have to, in order to work in the district clerk's office, you have to have a strong knowledge of the law in order to be able to do your job correctly.
Are you currently working in the district clerk's office?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any kind of contact with that office?
No, not much, no.
And what was the last time that you were?
Well, I've worked up until 2013. Let me back up. Started in the district clerk's office in 2001. I was promoted quickly to district clerk 2. Then I was promoted to be a court administrator in 2005. So I have about 12 years of experience working with the district clerk's office and with the courts. So I have a working knowledge of both sides of that system.
So since you are running against the incumbent, it is presumed that you aspire to make changes to or improvements to this office using the powers that you're delegated as district clerk. What are those changes? Do you have a list?
Let's see. Yeah, I do have a list, but let's just hit on a couple because y'all want me to do short answers. One of the things that I feel it's important. Not that the incumbent doesn't feel that it's important, but I would really stress training of the clerks because of the need to have the knowledge to be able to do your job efficiently and effectively. And I think that that's something that was lacking. I know when I started working there, and it's something that I would definitely try to improve as time went on, especially because of the mandate of e-filing that just happened January 1st. But Collin County really was progressive. We started that process back in 2006 when we changed our case management system from the old, what they call green screen system to what they call now Odyssey. That's the case management system that the county paid a lot of, like over $8 million for, and I helped them implement that system. I was on the team to implement that system. And so we've been progressively moving toward e-filing from 2006 up until now.
So the what administrative skills do you bring to this event?
Administrative.
Yes.
Prior to my government employment, I worked at EDS. I was a project manager and also oversaw a team of about 20 people. We did all of marketing for the corporate communications division of EDS, which is now Hewlett-Packard. Right after that, I worked for Susquehanna Radio Corporation, which was a really fun job. Worked for ticket stock. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. We did a lot of promotional type work where I oversaw a team of people that did promotions for the Dallas Cowboys, promotions for the Mavericks, that type of thing. So I'm real familiar with organizing, being organized and giving instruction on how to start a job from start to finish.
What kind of experience do you have in political positions?
I am the president of the African American Republican Club. I'm also the treasurer for the Texas Assembly for African American Republicans. I'm a member of the Golden Corridor Republican Club, also a member of the Lincoln Society.
What would you like to see? How would you like to see the district clerk's office look in the next 2 years?
I'd like to see the district clerk's office be citizen friendly. I always talk about how when you come to the district clerk's office, unless you're coming to get a passport, it's not really anything that's going to be pleasant for you. So if you meet up with a smiling face when you come in, that's going to make your job a little bit, or your task a little bit easier to digest. So that would be important to me. I'm real big on customer service, especially when you're a public servant. you know, customer service is key because you're dealing with the taxpayers and you want them to understand that, you know, these are your tax dollars at work. So you want pleasant, responsible, knowledgeable employees to work for you and with you as a team in that office.
So compared to the other two candidates, including the incumbent, what do you feel sets you apart from them?
I feel that what sets me apart from the two of them, because we are all very different, but what sets me apart is the fact that I did work in that office, and right now I can go into that office and sit at the front counter and file a petition. I can sit in the back and issue a citation. I can go take a pleading and go through the minutes. And then on the court side, I can set a hearing. I mean, I have all of the knowledge from start all the way to finish, a working knowledge, and I'd be willing and able to sit down right now and do the job from start to finish.
All right, thank you. And now it's time for your 2-minute closing. Closing statement.
I just hope that everybody finds it important enough to research us all. We do have all different qualities, and I have, you know, the utmost respect for everybody that's running. However, I think that it's real important to know that because of my experience in the district clerk's office and as a court administrator, I bring a unique perspective to the job, and I'd be one of those type district clerks that you would walk in, and hopefully you wouldn't have to walk in unless you're getting a passport, but you'd walk in and you see me working on the front counter, or you see me issuing a citation, or you see me doing whatever needs to be done to get the job done. I wouldn't ask the clerks to do anything that I wouldn't do myself.
Thank you, Terry. So welcome to the McKinney Tea Party. We've seen you here before.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, and wow, you've had an interesting 2 years.
It's been busy.
Yes. So we've seen a lot of the improvements that you made over the last 2 years. Would you briefly, before we get into that, just explain how you came into the position?
Yeah, this was an interesting time in my family. Attorney for 12 years. And I got a call one day from one of the judges that said, you really need to call Judge Becker. And I got a text from another judge that said, you really need to call Judge Becker. And I thought, what have I done to Judge Becker? And once I contacted them, I found out that when our previous clerk had been removed from office, it was up to the Board of District Judges, which was our sitting judges at the time. We had 8 at that time, to appoint the replacement if they could unanimously decide on who that would be. And so they called and said they felt I had the right mix of qualifications and experience, and asked if I would leave my law practice and accept the appointment as district clerk.
So everybody I've spoke to has talked about, I'm a recent transplant here to Texas. You've been district clerk longer than I've been in Texas. I've heard that it was a highly disorganized office for folks. I heard that you made some changes, like time to arrive at work and dress codes. But I also know your changes went a lot further than that. How judges communicated, from what I understand, with the lawyers. Also, you changed legislation in Austin, is that correct? Or?
We worked actually in support of a couple of bills, and then in opposition of some things that would have made things very impractical for our office.
So it's pretty bold moving against the status quo when you're talking about, especially dress and time for people to arrive at work. What has that taught you about being a Republican these last 2 years?
It's generally not the popular opinion, and oftentimes I think it's hard to continue to do what you think is the right thing, even though it's unpopular with the people that it affects. I can give you one example. We had staff that was, when I got there, was manipulating the time clock. And you wouldn't think this, being a computerized system, but just the way that you clocked in or out, you could accumulate up to 30 minutes a day in comp time, just by manipulating the clock. So we had staff that was accumulating over 100 hours a year in comp time, like doing nothing more than clocking in and out. So we stopped that immediately, but it was some things like that that was not particularly appreciated by some of the staff that was used to doing that.
How many staff are there?
We have 70 now.
And you hired and fired them all?
That's correct.
Okay, in this position. So what knowledge of the law do you have for this position?
Well, as I mentioned, I am an attorney. I guess I'm semi-retired at this point. I no longer practice. I had to wind down my law practice at the time I took over. But I think my legal background and my experience as an attorney has been invaluable. I found when I got there were a lot of corners that were being cut that you probably would not like to see cut in your judicial system. A lot of things in the law, it is very specific about the difference between when you may do something and when you shall do something. And it's a very important distinction. And may means it's up to you, and shall, as it sounds, means you must do this. It's not optional. And we found a number of things in the law that were shall type edicts that weren't being followed. They were treated more as a may. One specifically, when I asked the staff why they weren't doing it, they said they'd been told previously it just took too long. So we pay a lot of attention to that. It's extremely important. Most of the duties of our office are statute-driven, and we pay a lot of attention to make sure that we're doing everything that the statutes require of our office.
So you've made many improvements using these powers that have been delegated to you. What future improvements, changes, if any, do you envision enacting in this next term?
I think one of the most exciting things that we've done, it just started in January. I've actually spoken to y'all about it before. The Supreme Court said that all attorneys have to electronically file their documents now. And so we made the decision when that happened to not print those. We get about 1.7 million pages of litigation filed in our 9 courts every year. And as my nephew pointed out, if you laid it end to end, it would take you 25 miles past the space station. So it's a lot of paper that the burden would have shifted to the citizens of Collin County to print all of that paper now that we were going to receive it mostly electronically. So we made the decision at that time to move to electronic court records. And unfortunately, that mandate only applied to civil cases. So as of January 1, we went paperless in all of our civil cases, which is the vast majority of what our district courts do. But what I would like to do in the next term is move that into the criminal area as well and completely eliminate the paper from our office. I think that would be a good move to round out what we're doing and finish out, get us across the finish line in the office.
So what is there a political side to this position in your experience?
I wouldn't say it's overtly political other than your philosophy in terms of, we have almost a $5 million budget. And so that's a significant amount of money. I think where political leanings, if you will, come into it is, are you going to be fiscally conservative with that? Are you going to be conscientious of the taxpayers' money? And we found lots of ways to do that. We partnered with our constables using this electronic process to begin to transmit citations electronically. So if somebody is going to be served in a lawsuit, and it's like you see in the movies where you've been served with papers. Well, what used to happen is the constables had to come to our office. We would physically generate that paper citation. They would have to come all the way to McKinney, depending on no matter which constable's office they were in throughout the county. They would have to come into our office to retrieve that paper, go and serve it, bring it back to us to be entered back in the computer. So we worked with them to work out a system where it's going to electronically happen now. We send it to them electronically, they return it to us electronically, and they've estimated that it's going to save about $50,000 a year just by making that one switch.
So being fiscally responsible, according to President Obama, our economy is doing very well, and we all now have free health care. And I'm just kind of curious why we need to be fiscally responsible.
In our office or philosophically just in general? It's pretty broad, it can go on for hours.
Well, I would say in our office. I'm very happy to see that the budgets are being cut. And the real question here is, how would a Democrat use this office differently, in your opinion, for what you've seen in the last 2 years?
I think there is a lot of opportunity, particularly with the growth in the county. We've had the commissioners here, they talk about we have, I think, 75 people a day move into Collin County. And I think with that growth, it would be very easy to say, we need to grow a department like this right along with it. And that's actually not the direction that we're taking. I think we can utilize technology like we did with constables and the electronic filing. I think appropriately managing and using the things that we have available to us, like the technology, is going to help us keep pace with the growth that we have in the county without actually expanding the department. I don't know if we can stave it off forever if we continue to grow. I think they said in the next 20 years we'll be bigger than Tarrant County, so we may have to add staff before then, but I think basically you can, if you're mindful of it, you can hold that off a lot longer than perhaps somebody that was a Democrat would want to grow right along with it.
Thank you very much at this time for your closing statement.
Okay. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with all of you. I'm most excited that a race like this helps us bring the information about what the district clerk's office does. We're one of the best kept secrets in the county, and the fact that it's an elected race means people are asked to vote for something that they don't necessarily understand. I was glad Justice Evans talked about our Chief Justice Nathan Hecht. I was really honored on Friday actually to be included in a press conference about this e-filing. It was Justice Hecht and myself. I was the only district clerk in the state that was asked to participate and talk about the success of that e-filing rollout. Collin County is now considered a model in the state for what we've been able to do. And most people don't even know it's happening. It's a huge shift in the way our courthouse conducts business, and being able to come and talk to people gives me the opportunity to share that exciting news and the direction and the vision that our county is moving forward in. I've received a number of endorsements in this case that Collin County Deputies Association has endorsed me, and I found out just today that the Collin County Conservative Republicans have endorsed me. So I am excited and pleased to be here and share the information with you all. We've got tons more information about things we've been able to do to save money and cut costs in the office on the website. So please visit the website, and we'll be here afterwards to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you very much. Please Okay, the first question will be for Denise Alberino. Excuse me. And we have a question for Denise in the audience. Duncan.
You stressed the differentiation between your status as a paralegal and as a full-fledged practicing attorney. Could you delineate how exactly the differentiation between the skill sets of a paralegal and a full-fledged practicing attorney, and how that would affect your position as district clerk?
Are you asking me the difference between the qualifications like a paralegal and a lawyer?
Yes, and
Yes.
how that would affect your duties as district clerk.
Okay, yes, I can. First of all, a lawyer, of course, attends school, college and law school, and has to pass the bar, whereas a paralegal, I do not need to be certified to work as a paralegal. But with working under the direct attention of an attorney is where I have to follow the same guidelines as a lawyer. I cannot practice law, I cannot give legal advice like an attorney, but I do work directly with clients, the public, I draft all the pleadings, but everything has to go to an attorney for review. I do not have that right to sign off on any documents and present them to the court. Only my lawyer can do that. Does that kind of clarify that?
Thank you. A question for Terry Evans, please.
I have a really important question for Terry Evans. Since she's worked with the Dallas Cowboys, how can we influence the owner to become a manager?
Do I need to repeat that question?
Let's go to the question.
I'd love to answer that question. Unless any of us in here has the money that Jerry Jones has, I don't think that will ever happen.
We have a question for District Clerk Thompson.
You learned everything there is to know about our office.
Anyone? Ma'am?
One of your opponents mentioned that one of the things she might do that's not being done would be to speed up the process of, I don't understand all the stuff, but getting papers back to lawyers and that kind of thing. Do you see that as a problem, or could you do anything?
I think it's probably in reference to the turnaround time that it takes on the e-filing. As we said, this was a system that started January 1, so it's still in its infancy. But Friday, when I was at the press conference with Chief Justice Hecht, the vendor notified us that Collin County fluctuates between first and second in the state for the fastest turnaround time. So I'm not sure what more we can do than first place, but I'm pretty proud with what we've been doing.
Any other questions for a particular candidate? Dr. Meyer.
I have a question for Terry. If by chance you're not successful in this particular race, are there other positions that you've considered running for?
Wow. No, not really. Not at this time.
Not yet.
I guess not yet. Not yet. But I do plan to stay very, very active in the party, and the African American Republican Club. We're making huge strides, and we've been chartered into the Texas GOP Assembly for Republicans, and we're just trying to get people educated and informed and get them out there to let them know.
And elected.
And elected, right.
I have a question for District Clerk Thompson. I saw something that Scalia was mentioning, Justice Scalia was mentioning today about internment camps. And I was wondering what the role a District Clerk would play in something like that happening. So we have that, and then we have the IRS that'll be enforcing Obamacare. Maybe we do that through liens. And is that just something the county clerk's concerned with? Do you have any thoughts on that, or is it? I know it's kind of an left field, tyranny question, but the internment camps did happen at one time, and that's a matter of family law, I guess, right? Or it's a federal thing.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear he said that he thought that was a real possibility in the future. That was kind of an interesting comment from him today. In terms of liens, that's actually happened. Those are handled in the county clerk's office. So if it was something that was going to involve the filing of those, any other civil or criminal action would actually have to be filed. We don't particularly have the ability to affect or accept or reject on the basis. So we can't determine if a lawsuit or something like that has the merit. That's up to the judge. It's our responsibility to take it, make sure that it's appropriately in the format that it needs to be to enter kind of into the judicial system, and so we serve as a gatekeeper in that way. But it would probably be something that would start in our courts, although I suspect it would end up in a federal court very quickly.
And we have Carol Maxwell. Please ask. Who's your question for?
I had for Terry.
Okay.
I have heard that if you are not successful in this race, that you're going to apply for the precinct chair for precinct 3.
That is correct.
Did everybody hear what Carol said about precinct 3 and Terry possibly making a run for the chair? Yes, ma'am, in the back. Who's your question for?
My husband has been a computer consultant for years, and he talks about fault tolerance, systems that what happens when the system goes down and everything is online and it's not a...
Can you repeat that question?
Yes, the question is what happens when it's dealing with fault tolerances, and what happens when the computer systems go down and everything's on paper, not on paper?
There's there are a couple of different issues on that. One is if you had a catastrophic event that maybe did something to the courthouse, in which case we have at the county multiple backup systems. They're required to be, one at least is required to be, I think, over 16 miles from the building. So in the case of a catastrophic event, it would just be a matter of getting a computer system somewhere back up to speed. We also have the ability to accept paper records in the event of an emergency. So the Supreme Court's mandate allowed for that. So we can always accept paper filings. The biggest issue is if there is a short-term lapse, a power outage or something that lasts a short term, and it is unfortunately a problem. that doesn't really have a solution if you're not going to maintain the paper records. And unfortunately, there isn't a solution to that if you're going to have a temporary outage, but there are lots of redundancies in place to protect the information so that there should not be any permanent or widespread loss of that data or information. Yes.
Does the courthouse have a backup generator?
It does, actually. Surprisingly, the power went out about 2 weeks ago, and what I learned after the fact was we had been on the backup generator for several hours, and we didn't even notice a blip. So it apparently is a pretty good one.
All right, thank you, candidates. Hopefully, if you're able to stay afterwards in the hall to answer questions, we all greatly appreciate it. And thank you for coming tonight. We really